Everyone, welcome to another Classic Movie Monday. I apologize that this video has to be uploaded late. Unfortunately, I've been relatively busy lately and have been unable to upload videos, but I should be up and on time by the end of today. And I thought in particular for this Veterans Day, I thought it would be interesting to briefly address some things that are somewhat veteran related, in particular for this Classic Movie Monday as well as for the Music Talk Tuesday. Unfortunately, I don't have in particular a veterans book at the moment, but these two sort of reflect onto Veterans Day, at least in regards to what they sort of are about. So without further ado, let me address what I wanted to address for this particular Classic Movie Monday, and that's the film, in particular the British production Zulu, made in 1964, I believe. Although this may not be as widely known by probably the American audience out there, it has been one that has been, I think, both critically as well as praised by the audiences that have viewed this particular film for, I think, a variety of reasons, and I am planning to address them today in this video. But basically, Zulu as a film revolves around in particular the British when they are in Africa, in particular during the colonial period of the 1800s, where you saw all of these different European countries occupying various areas within Africa, and I think largely that was for a variety of reasons. Primarily, I think largely trying to gather resources and whatnot, and also to provide some sort of trade, I think, largely. Although I think there obviously could be other reasons as well. From what I can remember, from what I was taught in school, that was primarily a lot of the driving force behind European countries in particular wanting to occupy various African territories. But this film in particular is actually based off of real events that involved British soldiers and the Zulus, which were in particular an African tribe. And basically these British soldiers are outnumbered by the Zulu force, who is trying to basically invade them. So the Zulus are at least in the context of this film, are the group that's on the offensive against the British, as the British try to sort of defend their territory that they have there. And I think what in particular stands out as far as this film is concerned is not only the context in which the story is taking place, because we don't really see a lot of the colonial, at least that particular time of colonialism in a lot of films, I think, and I largely feel that's probably why a lot of people were driven to this film in particular, because it did offer a very unique interpretation as far as really understanding the time period and whatnot, and also sort of the things that were sort of going on between these two groups, in particular the British as well as the Zulus, but it's largely primarily focused on, in particular, the Battle of Rotlets Drift, and basically they had even a war involved with the Zulu group, as well as, I guess, the British, called the Anglo-Zulu War. And I think the way in which they execute the battle sequences, as well as the sort of character interactions, in particular the ones that are of conflicting opinions, and you'll see this with, in particular, just the two main characters of the story, because largely this whole conflict seems to be at a huge disadvantage to the British, not only by their numbers, but also by the fact that a lot of them are in hospital care and don't really have the mechanisms to fight the Zulus. And they really do have a significant advantage as far as numbers. I believe it's, from what I could tell, it was 150 British to 4,000 Zulus. So you got a big number difference there. And some might say, well, obviously the British had probably better weapons, and even though they did, it's still a big number disparity there. So you really do see the struggle as the British really try to fight the force that is invading them, which in this case is the Zulu tribe. But even though there might be, I think, various historical inaccuracies from what I could tell from my research, I think it primarily gets the points across that you would expect a film like this to get across, as far as understanding the war and the people involved in it and how they ultimately overcame their struggle to fight the Zulus. I shouldn't really say exactly how that ends up really occurring and as to how they really win, or if they win, but the way in which certain characters, as well as certain events, are maybe represented, are not necessarily as reflective of to real life, but really I think when you look at the way in which they lay everything out to the audience, I think it only makes sense that that it would be shown in this light. And I think the way in which overall the whole project of this film was executed was really well done, especially for a British production, and I think it's definitely worthy of recommendation. And I think a lot of people might not necessarily remember this one so much, only because it was primarily a British production, but I think there is a lot to enjoy from it. If in particular you like this kind of history, and you like these kinds of conflicts that were sort of going on during the time. So that's all, though, I think I can ultimately really say, though, about this film without really giving too much away. But if there are any questions, comments, concerns, I'd be more than happy to answer them. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you all have a pleasant day, week, month, and year. And yeah, since this in particular is related to war, and I believe also the British in particular celebrate Veterans Day as well. I don't know if it is technically today as well, but they were showcasing some things on social media that was sort of titled Remembrance Day as opposed to Veterans Day. So I don't know if it's maybe a memorial day for them, but I've noticed that they've been, at least on a lot of British channels, that they've been wearing the little poppy flower that's supposed to be like the remembrance flower for, I think, soldiers. But yeah, I think that's really ultimately, though, all I can say. However, then you get any questions, comments, concerns, be more than happy to answer them. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you all have a pleasant day, week, month, and year, and I hope to see you all in the next video.